He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. This is a spoiler review, but I'll try to talk about enough of it without spoilers, and then we'll get into stuff that bothered me with spoilers, or stuff that intrigued me, I guess. This movie has been a very cautious movie for me because while I do love He-Man, I was excited when this movie was announced because I was like, finally, they're going to make a He-Man movie that's not going to be set on Earth. And we're going to get a movie set in Eternia and get all this stuff that we should have gotten from the 80s movie, but obviously technology wasn't there and we just weren't there yet. Right? But now we're going to get it. Then I started seeing set photos of this movie that was set on Earth. And I was like, I'm good. Never mind. Being hyperbolic a little bit, but that really is the truth. I saw that and I was like, I'm good. And then the trailers came out and they weren't wowing me, but they were interesting enough that I was excited. I love He-Man. Don't ever want this movie to be bad, especially since we haven't had a He-Man movie in decades. Literal decades. So, what did I think about this movie? I'm going to tell you, there are two sides with me when it comes to this movie. The fangirl in me. Right? I'm a He-Man fangirl. And then the movie critic side of me. As a movie, let's just start there. This movie doesn't work it very well. It's not horrible. It's like a 4 or 5. It's like a 5 or 6 out of 10 movie, right? The humor in this movie is bad. The only jokes that I thought were somewhat decent was Skeletor, because they do a great job of making Skeletor menacing and a villain. Like, he actually kills people and does evil things. But they also kind of acknowledge, hey, this guy's goofy and silly. I thought all of that worked. There's a couple bits that with him that didn't, but for the most part, it really worked. I think the one bit didn't work for me is there's a joke where he's raising his fist in the air and he's like, and the moment just stops to be like, guys, I'm done. That's your signal that I'm done. And that felt so out of place. Most time it worked, and Alison Brie as Evelyn played off him really well. She clearly understood the assignment with that role. The other part of this movie, for me, that worked, was that this movie looked visually beautiful, all that. I just think the humor bogged this movie down. I wouldn't say my theater was packed, but there was a lot of seats filled in this theater, and nobody was laughing. None of them. They were not laughing at majority of the jokes in this movie. So you're just kind of sitting there with this movie, and the theater is silent as nonstop jokes are happening. And the problem with these jokes is, you know that scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 where they're saying taser face over and over again, and you're like, God, it's not that funny, shut the fuck up. It's not that funny, shut the fuck up. And it just goes on and on and on. That is every joke in this movie that's not from Skeletor. And some of it felt like, I understand that this property is a little bit goofy, so to resell it to a modern audience, you do have to kind of, I don't want to say make fun, but more like poke fun at it. But it didn't feel like some of it felt like, oh, you're poking fun at it in a way that actually feels disrespectful at times. They make fun of He-Man's name. And to me, that's no, what are we doing? And honestly, I think part of the problem is well, this is one of those properties that does translate a little bit better than live action. It still would be better if this was an animated movie, especially since it's Travis Knight directing, who's actually done animated movies, and it brings a lot of those animation principles to this movie. The action scene in the woods, where he's flying around on the thing and blowing up ships, the scenery in that scene felt like something out of one of his stop motion movies he done for and it's really cool. So that side of me really, I don't know, enjoyed a lot of the mix and practical effects. I also think this movie went on a little bit too long. Like, there was a point where I was like, why are we doing this? This is a worthless part of this movie. Where it's kind of a scene where Skeletor is tormenting He-Man in his mind, and you're going back to all the settings you saw at the beginning of the Earth. I'm not spoiling anything, I guess. It's just really bad. I hated it. It's like you just made the movie feel longer. You know, things like that. There's kind of a movie part of this movie where it's like, oh, the movie's over, and it just kind of kept going. So there's that. Now let's start with the other side of me. As a He-Man fan, I had a great time with this movie. Because for one, the way they adapted these characters very much felt like, hey, Travis Knight likes He-Man. He wants to have fun with this. And he did. Like, the reason Skeletor wins, and that's not a spoiler, you see it in the trailers, is because Skeletor never got to win the cartoon. Travis Knight wanted to see that happen in a movie, so he made it happen. And so the rest of the movie is dealing with the fallout of Skeletor winning a battle. Why not? That sounds cool as fuck to me. Some of the jokes about characters' names, well, I didn't really like them making fun of He-Man's name, explaining where where Ran Man and Trapjaw kind of got their names. It's kind of fun, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. Kind of felt like Mikey from 2012, Ninja Turtles kind of thing, right? There's tons of references in this movie. It's just fun. I had a good time with all that. And so while I wasn't vibing with the humor, the rest of the movie gave me what I wanted. And as the movie went along, it got better, except for a little bit towards the end. I'm like, all right, this is going on a little bit too long. But the movie did get better and better as the movie went on. And I had a great time. And spoilers, now the spoiler section. I just want to talk about a couple of the post-credit scenes. Basically, we'll start with the worst post-credit scene. It's not bad, but you see that Evelyn picks up the skull, clearly implying that she's bringing Skeletor back. Obviously, can't have a He-Man universe without Skeletor. And then the other post-credit scene is Orko shows up. And to me, I don't understand why they couldn't just have Orko be someone who just narrates the movie, right? Because the movie starts with Prince Adam's narration, and you could just have him be like a servant to the king, and he starts narrating or like reading to kids or something. He could be like a bookend to this universe. Like, I don't understand why the way they kind of use him made sense. It seemed like they really didn't want to use Orko because so many fans hate him, which I get, but okay. She-Ra is the post-credit scene, and that scene made me sad because box office is not good for this movie. Amazon spent way too much money on this movie and its marketing, and it didn't work out. This movie is going to flop hard. And in saying that, the movie not doing well is sad, but man, that is so sad to see, because I want to see that She-Ra, especially since She-Ra actually probably has more love than He-Man does because of the fact that the She-Ra cartoon, that show ran for like 6 seasons, where the He-Man's had a couple like Netflix cartoons, but only one of them got interest. The other thing I want to mention is kind of spoilery. I don't really like that Cringer doesn't ever get his He-Man moment of like, where with this power I'll turn him into Battle Cat. He just kind of later becomes Battle Cat, and you don't really ever see him as Battle Cat in this movie. In fact, it got to a point where the movie was almost over, and I was like, when's Cringer coming back? I want to see fucking Battle Cat. seems like he was an afterthought in this movie. I don't know. There's some, other than that, I had a great ass time. Dolph Lundgren's cameo was cool. I just been helping to promote this movie too, which is cool. I I I love. I really enjoyed this movie. As a fan, part of me loved the movie. As a critic, I can't really rate the movie too highly, but honestly, I get the sense that the people who made this movie just made this movie for the fans and literally no one else. And I guess that's going to show in its box office performance, ain't it? Because if you're not a He-Man fan, I don't know what to tell you, because this movie was made for He-Man fans. Like, I'm not saying you'll hate it or anything, but the movie doesn't do a great job explaining to you who all these characters are, what their deals are. And by the time you start catching up to what it is, you've already checked out. So, I loved it. I can understand why others won't.